Hi, welcome to Mercurius Being Astro Update. I am Amy Jensen here with your update for the Gemini full moon, which will be exact on Monday, November 27th, creeping up on me, at 3:16 a.m. Central Time. So that's the chart, and as always, depending on where you are at, it might look different. I'll just highlight before we start, we have Mars and the Sun coming off their conjunction, which was exact on 11/17, opposing the Moon, of course, in Gemini, thus the full moon, and both of those, or all three of those energies and the two luminaries squaring Saturn. So we also have Mercury in Sagittarius, so we have a little bit of a Sagittarius party at this time of year. And Mercury pretty much exactly 13 minutes off from squaring Neptune in Pisces. So what does that all mean? Let's find out. We'll start off with the Sabian symbols for the Sun and the Moon. And again, using Lynda Hill's wonderful book. I will start with the Moon at 5 degrees Gemini. It's actually at 4 degrees 51 minutes, but we always round up with Sabian symbols. So the saying for this degree is, a radical magazine or publication asking for action displays a sensational front page. The Oracle, you may be motivated for change, and getting the attention of those around you may require radical and even abrasive action. This symbol can equally be seen from the opposite view. Perhaps you are having difficulty with someone who is being noisy, disruptive, demanding, or looking to cause change. Whichever, the issue is most likely overblown and exaggerated in some way. There may be a lot of dramatic action and overreaction to what is said or done. Things may currently seem threatening, but are probably just reflections of moments in time and likely to pass before long. Someone may meet his or her match vocally. Attention-seeking devices, such as the sensational front page, should be used very carefully and never against anyone. Once everyone is paying attention, there may need to be an effort to publicize a more reasonable perspective. Sometimes we overuse terms like, you never, and that's the last time I ever, and it is important to get past the exaggerated. Sensational words and to get past the exaggerated, sensational words, and look at why such large statements are thought necessary in the first place. So the keywords, speaking your mind, messages and news that awakens or shocks the need for reform, challenging outlooks, breaking out of constraints, the media, issues of propaganda, headlines that promise more than they deliver, printing presses, publicity, publishing, gaining attention, speaking one's truth without fear of consequences. And then the caution for this degree, being argumentative, arousing others for selfish reasons, distortions of the truth. Misinformation and disinformation, getting the whole picture wrong, exploitation of situations, overstating messages, biased information, old and outworn news. So that is the degree for the Moon. And as we know, all full moons are heightened anyway. So all of those things, all of those aspects are going to be heightened. So the degree for the Sun is an old owl perched up high in a tree. This symbol can indicate a degree of insomnia caused by an active mind and thinking too much at bedtime. What are the hidden elements of the situation facing you? If you sit quietly apart from things for a while and really endeavor to see in the dark, you'll reveal things that previously only lurked in the shadows. You may need to consult with aged wisdom, either from within yourself or from the outside world. Knowledge of any type, but particularly knowledge garnered from books, can lead you to seeing farther into very difficult situations where everything seemed dark and sometimes forbidding. The owl may look sleepy and sedate, but it can move very fast the minute it sees what it wants. It can move with a surprising swiftness to catch its objective. Emulating this behavior can bring a certain solitude, but this may be just what is needed. However, a feeling of being separate, high and remote, can cause alienation, so be watchful for when it's time to start actively participating in life again. Key words: wisdom and strength, evening contemplation, keeping thoughts to oneself, a wise sage type of person, nocturnal vision, exalted wisdom, night owls, heightened sight and seeing, being silent and alert for the slightest movement, the ability to see all around, the spirit of birds, silent flight, having acute hearing and lofty ideals. The caution for this degree is smug denial of available wisdom, someone thinking they know it all, not wanting to join in with others in fun activities, acting old before their time, excluding others as being frivolous and unknowing, waiting for one's prey, black magic, being old before one's time, always being alone, remote and cut off, sitting isolated, saying nothing when one should be saying something, inability to sleep soundly. So that's kind of the full spectrum of symbols associated with that degree. So the moon is in the area of the heavens known as Rohini in the Vedic system. And just a few little thoughts about that. I'm trying to keep this a little more simple. The energy of that area of the heavens is one of, it's ruled by the moon, and it also has an overlay of Venus energy. So there's this physicality, there's this beauty, there's this embodiment energy to this area. It is the area that we're drawn into the physical world, the physical nature, and into earthly illusions. The kind of the energy of the moon waxing and waning. The mythology goes that the moon lost some of its powers because of its attachment to one of its 27 wives in the Hindu pantheon of the energies of each of the segment of the heavens. And so Brahma, the creator, took away the moon's power, thus the waning of the moon and then the waxing of the moon. So the illusory nature of losing and gaining one's power, but losing one's sense of being a spirit, being a soul. When you look at a little baby and you just look in their eyes and they're these little new humans, but they look like they've got those little Yoda eyes. They just know everything. Like if they could, they're still so liminal, but they're in the physical body. So in this area of the heavens, we're really drawn and attracted and allured into physicality and materiality. But this, as Brahma is the creator, the principle of creation, this really helps us start the cycle of being here and death and rebirth. Coming into the world, coming into the act of procreation, life on earth, and all that we learn through being involved in the world of senses, so that we can grow and evolve and learn as a soul. So there's a lot of karma. Spoiler alert! A lot of karma that I'm going to talk about in this talk. Well, I guess I kind of talk about that all the time. Also, spoiler alert! I'm just all about karma lately. I love karma. It's so amazing. Anyway, because without it, mean, yes, it's not great. I don't mean that, but it is, because it's like, if we didn't have those experiences, and I'm kind of ruining the end of my presentation, if we didn't bump up against things, how would we change course? You know, how would we know, oh, I'm doing the same thing, I'm doing the same thing, I'm doing the same thing. But if you bump up against something and you're doing the same thing over and over again, and then some karma hits, it gives us the opportunity to, oh, well, I'm going to try a different way now because that obstacle occurred. At any rate, so it's really this introduction where the moon is at. Okay, this area of the heavens, there's an overlay of coming into the world, experiencing the world, but not losing sight of the fact that we are, a spirit, a soul experiencing this physicality, if that makes sense. So the area where the sun is at is Anuradha, and the symbol is a lotus flower. It's ruled by Saturn, the god of limitations, the energy of karma and obstacles and rules and time and space, which we are forced to overcome. Okay? So this evolutionary aspect of the soul is not unlike a lotus. And this, I'm paraphrasing from Komilla Sutton. The lotus, if you know, floats above the water, but it grows in really mucky, murky, kind of stagnant water. And it's this beautiful blossoming that comes up. And then these blossoms are offered just as we are born into all the muck of our world, but we grow toward the light and we blossom, and then the lotus dies and it recedes and it all goes back down into the bottom of the mud, the mucky base, and then it grows once again into that. So it's again just another area of death and rebirth, and then so there's just the energy of the moon illuminating, it's the full moon illuminating the sun, the moon in the area of physicality, the moon rules memory. So remembering that we're a soul in a body, experiencing physicality and enjoying this. A symbol for the area where the moon is at is an ox pulling a cart full of produce, the sense of abundance that we have and enjoyment, okay? And then the area where the sun is in, ruled by the deity Mitra, which is about the energy of bringing together opposites, of remembering that maybe before all of us souls came down, we were all besties, and then we took on different roles, some harmonious, some inharmonious, and then, but remembering above and beyond the manifestation at which we are finding each other in this lifetime, we'll all dissolve back and we'll all once again be as one. So remembering our unity in the sense of multiplicity. And there's a big layer of the energy of love with this. And as I move into the Sagittarius part, there's just the love, starting with yourself, really, self-love, not judging yourself, remembering that you are, remembering and forgiving yourself and loving yourself for being absolutely perfectly evolving, no matter how messy and mucky that looks at times, right? We're all there. Some days we're in the muck, and some days we're the lotus flower, perfectly poised and still on the water, right? And it's all good. It's all part of the process. Okay, so the aspects to this lunation. We have just a little small minor aspect from Venus to both the sun and the moon. Again, kind of adding, I would say, that level of enjoyment and beauty and noticing the materiality I'm just going to leave it at that. And then the Mars just off, 10 days off, the conjunction with the Sun, and really still active in this. And so Mars and Sagittarius can add a lot of fire to these spectacular headlines. And even though I know that was the Gemini symbol, there was a lot of Sagittarius in there as well, a lot of energy and fire to beliefs and belief systems. So that may be heightened. So watch your reactiveness. Take the awesomeness of that fire of Sagittarius, that joie de vivre that we all love about Sagittarians. Go take a trip, go do something fun, go take a trip with your mind and your Sagittarius friends in a lovely big picture day. It doesn't have to involve finger pointing or proclamations, okay? And that's a super generalization, but the energy for finger pointing and proclamations is going to be there with the lunation of the Gemini versus the Sagittarius, the opinions and the thoughts and the words and the heat and the air, okay? So just noticing that, okay? So we also have that Saturn in Pisces in a T-square, so squaring both the Sun and the Moon, the Sun/Mars and the Moon. And really, my solution, or everyone's solution with the T-square, it's kind of a gridlock. It's like this is opposing this. They're both squaring this. No one's budging, right? Okay. So we look at times then to the empty part, the empty leg. Let's see if I can pull this up correctly. Of Virgo. So there's nothing up there, but that would be a great place to place one's energy. So what is Virgo? Virgo is grounded in one's body. It's grounding oneself in being useful and service oriented. It's taking care of yourself. Again, that sense of really being in your body comfortably, and actually doing something about it and not just spouting, okay? Spouting or spewing or pointing one's fingers. It's like, okay, this is really bothering me. What can I do about it? Okay? And that just alleviates the tension. And the tension is there because it gives us that push. You know how that is. For me anyway, if things don't always sometimes get to that point, I might step back into stagnation a little bit. So I don't know if you're like that also, but anytime we have that conflicting energy, trying to flip it and think, well, what can I do with this then? What would be a really productive use of that fire and that air, okay? So Mercury squaring Neptune also at this time. I've got it written down in a couple places. And we're also prepping for Mercury retrograde cycle, which will start December 4th with its max evening elongation, and Mercury will start that at 3 degrees Capricorn, and it's the last Earth element Mercury retrograde cycle of this year. And actually the morning elongation will actually be in Sagittarius, so we'll be shifting into the year of fire, year and a half I think of fire actually. And I will do a little plug. I have a Mercury retrograde cycle series on my website, and the deadline for registering would be midnight Sunday, tomorrow night, all day tomorrow to register. And I'm doing a buy one, get one offer. So if you have a friend who might be interested, the two of you can join and check it out. But at any rate, so Mercury, which rules Gemini, which rules Virgo, the empty leg of this T-square, is squaring quite exactly Neptune. It's only 13 minutes apart. So really being aware of unclear communication, being aware of, Neptune can be illusory also, like propaganda, and that came up in the other symbols as well. Or having, just to take in the big energies of Pisces into consideration, okay? So the big picture thinking and talking, which is Sagittarius, which is wonderful, which is like aiming the archer's arrow, going to the mountaintop, making a plan, getting the education you need, taking the long-term, making the steps, long-term plan and steps toward that goal, which might take you a little while. And then the Gemini, more quick, reactive, but open, curious, bringing in a lot of information. Okay, so both of those mental processes. Then we meet Saturn in Pisces, but then Mercury, the ruler of Gemini and Virgo, squaring Neptune in Pisces. It's like a tsunami of water over all of the earth, the fire, the air. It's like, hello, like all your plans, all your curiosity can just be like wiped out. Okay? We can't leave the energy of everything, the collective unconscious, spirituality, the essence of transcendence out of the picture. We need to consider that, okay? We have to think, so the owl is up in the tree, I'm looking at a big pine tree, like we're gonna have to think way above the owl to get into the Pisces mode. So kind of like from space, a view down on the earth, getting that, and so you can take the whole earth into consideration, okay? So a hugely high vantage point to take into the consideration all of the issues and the larger and largest cycle and cycles. And so not just our opinions and our views, but really just placing them all into a larger context of humanity, and with the skill and discernment of that Virgo energy. So Virgo, again, separates the wheat from the chaff. Use that Virgo energy. Get into your body, get into a very grounded meditation. That will help ground you into this time and give you clarity, okay? Because you'll feel it in your gut. Virgo rules the small intestines. You'll feel it in your gut. You can discern, you can journal, you can decide, are you reacting to karmic triggers? How best and skillfully to act from and to and with the karmic triggers. Okay, so Mercury as the ruler of Virgo and Gemini, Gemini and Sagittarius, maybe the tendency and the energy of getting carried away with one's ideas or beliefs of any stripes. And then that fire again with Mars in the picture, watching a sense of righteousness that might arise. And then the Saturn at 0 degrees Pisces, again squaring the Sun, Mars, squaring Moon, Gemini, is like the 0 point. And you just, again, you can't ignore the big water, the big muck, the primordial water. And I was thinking about like this gigantic oceanic lotus, right? Arising from the big water. Okay, so this is a really huge opportunity to turn the me into we, just flip the M upside down. And then, it's personally for me, it's the end of a Saturn cycle, several Saturn cycles. And I'm just really realizing the need for myself to like wrap things up, like as if I were dying. I mean, we all are dying every moment and living every moment. But I just was thinking about, if I were leaving, do I really want to leave with any beefs, right? Is that what I pictured for myself? Like, I'm gonna die and I'm just gonna be really pissed about something stupid. No, I did not. And I do not. So I don't want my last communication with somebody to be like a snarky correspondence. Like, I want to come right. Okay, I want to be right. I just want to, with myself, and be true and honest. So I feel like there's a sense of earnestness. And I don't know if that's just individual energy for me, but also just really feeling into the end of this year, this sense of this opportunity that with awareness of these cycles, that we can move into this greater understanding, a greater understanding and appreciation for our abundance, a greater understanding and recognition of where there is lack of abundance within our whole world. How can we do better? How can we live more consciously? Not taking up blame or shame, but with a sense of construction, like a constructive aspect to it. And again, going back to that Virgo, doing something of service, not just lip service. Okay, so we're in Sagittarius, that big picture thinking, looking ahead. The external holidays sometimes can almost seem like a distraction or a diversion to the inner work that I feel like wants to occur at this season. But maybe, just like the placement of this lunation, maybe this immersion into the material is what we need to immerse ourselves in, joyfully and gratefully, and with a celebratory spirit, and inclusively and non-judgmentally, that goodwill toward all, that Sagittarius energy of that true goodwill to all, right? And just taking that Sagittarius energy and like elevating it even more, like take this holiday season even higher, okay? And just no quibbling about it. And not just because I'm super conflict averse personally, but like, can you hold the energy of spaciousness and openness in your throat chakra, where Gemini, where the moon is, where that empty leg of Virgo is, the throat chakra, that just holding balanced communication there, and inviting that Gemini curiosity about people, curiosity about your neighbor, about the stranger, kind of expanding beyond the I, me, mine-ness, and just being really open to others' beliefs and opinions and processes, other people's thoughts and communication. You know, what are they really trying to say? Like holding a space for that and welcoming it. And then discerning, okay? And then bringing your awareness also down to the sacral chakra. So as we know, all of the planets exist within us microcosmically. So at this lunation, we have Mercury, Sun, and Mars in Sagittarius in the sacral chakra. We have Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, also in the sacral chakra. So lots of planets there, lots of energy, okay? So can you flow with those energies? The pelvis, physically, the pelvis is stabilizing. I always think of a friend and mentor, Lisa Pearson, who always described the pelvis as like a batter bowl. You know, if you made pancakes or cakes or whatever, and you have a batter bowl and it has a little lip on it, and you kind of tilt it, and you want to keep that batter balanced in there. So if you tip your pelvis back, you know, the back rounds, and you kind of get into schlumpy posture. And if you tip your pelvis forward too much, you're like opening up, your shoulder blades are pinched, you're leading with the Mars navel chakra. So just the right amount of pitch to the pelvis has the posture being very nice and even. It's balanced, so you kind of come forward in a balanced manner. Pelvis is the center of creativity. It's a center of sexuality. Life, a baby, is held within the structure of the pelvis, okay? Our creations are where we place our beliefs, where we enter into this world from the waters of creation, the Pisces energy. So this is an opportunity to consciously birth a new plan, a new big picture, keeping in mind the eternal cycles of death and rebirth, and the ultimate point of all of it, which is evolution, moksha, which is liberation. Liberation from our karma, our repetitive patterns of things and habits, mindsets formed from beliefs and thoughts and words and actions. It's like stub the toe, do it again. Stub the toe, ouch, do it again. Stub the toe, ow, do it again, over and over. How many times am I going to stub my toe on the same problem? Right? How many toes do I have? How many toes do we all have? How many times do we want to keep doing it? Or how badly do we have to stub the toe before we stop doing what we do? So it's time to derive our pleasure, not from the action of bumping into something, but from stepping aside, dancing a new pattern, or sitting still within that lovely balanced posture, marveling at the incredible array of beats and rhythms, patterns of movement, words and tones, which comprise the overall symphony of life. So thank you always, and as always, for listening in, and thank you for subscribing. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Have a wonderful Gemini full moon, and I will see you at the next lunation. Namaste.